Hey everybody, great to be learning with you as we take a closer look today at some of the laws and customs of Mishloach Manot, part of our Spotlight series on the laws of Purim. Over the course of our learning today, we'll have a chance to look a little more closely at what actually qualifies as Mishloach Manot, what fulfills the mitzvah, what kinds of foods should and maybe should not be placed into those food baskets, and what we'll learn may surprise you. Next, we'll take a closer look at two reasons why we continue to give Mishloach Manot to this day, long after the story of Purim has passed. You know, giving and receiving Mishloach Manot is at least one of my favorite parts of the Purim holiday. Maybe it is for you too. But it's important for us to understand how and why we fulfill this mitzvah, starting with what actually goes into these baskets. And here the halacha is quite clear. When a person wishes to fulfill the mitzvah of Mishloach Manot, he or she must prepare a basket that has two different ready-to-eat items that he or she shares with at least one other person. But where do we know this information from? How do I know that at a minimum, I have to share at least two items that are different and ready to eat with at least one other person? Well, the answer to that question comes from the Megillah itself. If you open your Megillah and read towards the end, you'll come across the following verse. Mishloach Manot ish lere'ehu. Send portions, or portions of food specifically, from one person to another. And in the Purim story, after Mordechai and Esther successfully put down Haman's attempt to destroy the Jewish people, and with help from God, managed to overcome Haman and his enemies, resulting in the hanging of Haman and his sons on the gallows, Mordechai and Esther decide that it would be appropriate to mark the celebration of this occasion by sharing food baskets with friends and family within the Shushan area. And to this day, we continue that practice in honor and in memory of what happened back then. Yet, it's important to understand exactly how to fulfill this mitzvah, and to do that, the wording of Mordechai and Esther's decree to send these Mishloach Manot gives us all the answers we need. The Megillah reads, Mishloach Manot ish lere'ehu. Starting with the word manot, we can come across a very important clue as to how to actually prepare these baskets. The word mana means a portion, but manot in the plural means at least two portions. And so from the fact that it says Mishloach Manot, we understand from that a person would have to give at least two items to someone in order to fulfill this mitzvah. And these items have to be different and ready to eat. For example, if a person gave a beverage like a Coke and some Hamantashen, that would be appropriate since they are two distinct items that are ready to eat. Now, these two items happen to have different brachot, mezonot on the Hamantashen, shahakol on the Coke, but the actual bracha rishona for the items you include is not actually critical in determining whether or not these items are so-called different. In fact, that's one of the great misconceptions of Mishloach Manot. Many people have come to associate different with different brachot, and that is simply not true. For example, if I were to replace the Coke with a pretzel and give my friend Hamantashen and a bag of pretzels, which have the same bracha rishona of mezonot, I would still fulfill my mitzvah of Mishloach Manot since these are distinct items and are ready to eat. And so the only important thing to think about when deciding what goes into your basket is that these items be different. They could have different brachot, but not necessarily. And that they're ready to eat, and that you include at least two of them. Now, it's okay to include more than two items. You could have 20 or 30 if you choose to go that way. You could also include non-edible items as part of your Mishloach Manot if that fits your theme. But at a minimum requirement, one must have two items that are different and ready to eat, irrespective of what kind of bracha rishona they have. That's as far as what goes into the basket. What about who to give it to? And here we look back at that pasuk for some more clues and information. Mishloach Manot, send at least two separate, different food items, ish lere'ehu, from one person to another. And from the wording of ish, one person, lere'ehu, to his or her friend, another person, we learn that you fulfill the mitzvah by sending, at a minimum, one portion of food, a portion consisting of two items, to at least one other person. And it's, of course, appropriate and totally okay If a person decides to send Mishloach Manot to many people, in fact, as we'll see in a moment, the more the merrier certainly applies when it comes to giving Mishloach Manot. When it comes to the reasons why we give Mishloach Manot, there are basically two reasons that are given. The first having to do with another mitzvah that takes place on Purim, that being the Seudat Purim that we enjoy on Purim afternoon, the festive Purim meal that we eat in celebration of the wonderful and happy events that took place in Shushan so many years ago. And by providing people with food items that are ready to eat and that have a variety in them, we provide people with food for their Seudah to enhance that Seudat Purim in ways that might not have happened otherwise. But there's another reason, and that has to do with the friendship that is built by sharing these gift baskets. Think back to the last time that you gave something to someone. You probably felt warm feelings towards that person, and if you were lucky enough to receive something from someone as a gift, you also probably felt warm feelings towards the person who gave it to you. So whether or not you're giving the gift or receiving the gift, Mishloach Manot creates a sense of warmth and friendship and community that is at the heart of what Purim celebrations are about to this day. So one thing to keep in mind, so let's take a quick look back at some of the things we learned today, the who, the what, the where, the why, and the how of Mishloach Manot, starting with what actually goes into these Purim baskets. In order to fulfill the mitzvah of Mishloach Manot, a person must provide at least 2 different food items. Different, by the way, doesn't mean different brachot, just different items that are ready to eat and shared with at least one other person. The goal of Mishloach Manot is to promote friendship and to provide food for the Seudah that we enjoy on Purim Day. And Mishloach Manot are best delivered on Purim Day itself before sunset in order to fulfill the mitzvah. Those are some of the introductory ideas behind Mishloach Manot. When we come together in class, we'll have a chance to go a little bit deeper into the subject and put a creative twist on some of this information by doing some hands-on learning and some manipulations that help us better appreciate both the how and the why of Mishloach Manot. Looking forward to doing that with you and to learning with you some more when we return.